Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today I wanted to show you how I do a dark brush wave taper. You see the comb got caught up just trying to go straight towards the forehead. So what I do is I go slightly towards his right side while going towards his forehead, and it uncurls the curl, lays it down. Helps you get through it without the use of a pick, in most cases anyway. And just to begin and get some of the bulk out of the way, it's going to help me see my taper. I have a 3 guard on all the way closed, going with the grain, and I'm getting a good idea of his growth pattern and the direction all the hair is going. That's important when cutting hair one length as well as blending. You got to see which direction the hair is growing in. So to start off my taper, I use my trimmers, balled it out. Now I have my lever all the way open, and I'll make the second area about 1 inch wide, I'd say. And I close it halfway. I go halfway into it, and I close it all the way, and I remove that line. Now I'll put my 1 guard on lever all the way open for the third area. Making sure my area is clean before I put on my half guard. Halfway closed. I go about 3/4 of the way into that 1 guard area. I close it a notch. I drop down a little bit, and I close it all the way, and I completely remove that line before throwing on my 2 guard lever open to get my blend to go into the top of the hair length. And now 1.5 guard, coming in halfway open, working my way down till that line disappears. Now it's important you'll see lines of demarcation if you don't have the hair combed in the direction that it grows. Combing it into place can sometimes remove what you think are flaws. So doing a little bit of with the grain work, especially near the lineup area, to make sure that it's cut down somewhat. Cleaning out the area with an air tool. It's important to keep your clients clean throughout the haircut. You want it to be a comfortable experience. You don't want them sitting the whole time with hair on their nose. So the same thing on the back. I ball it out with my trimmers, and I come in lever all the way open, about 1 inch wide for this area. I close the lever halfway, go 3/4 of the way into that area, close it all the way. Now completely remove the line. Doing everything the same way every single time, you'll get faster at doing that. So it's going to ultimately speed you up. Doesn't mean you're rushing, it just means you're faster at doing what you always do. You're going to get through these areas as fast as you can and fine tune it during your finish work. So right now I'm running through with a 1 guard lever open. And this area is a little bit longer, or a little bit wider, excuse me, about 1.5 inches. So I throw my 2 guard on, lever all the way open, and I'm flicking out, making sure I'm not forming another line above this area. I close it all the way and lighten it up a little bit before throwing on the 1.5 guard, about 3/4 of the way open. Going 1 inch or 2 into that 2 guard area, closing it a notch, dropping down some, closing it another notch, and attempting to connect those 2 areas together. The 1 guard and the 2 guard, that is. You see, it's so important to make sure that you're arranging the hairs in the direction that it grows whenever you're blending. And now we're going to put on the half guard, have it halfway closed, go 3/4 of the way into that 1 guard area. I close it a notch, I drop down to about the halfway mark, close it all the way, and completely remove that line in between the 2 areas. Notice I'm coming in at an angle. That's because the hair is growing outwards towards the lineup. So I have to come inwards. And the same thing on the other side. Again, a lot of your work is going to happen in your finish work, especially after framing the taper with the lineup. It really will present a lot of the major flaws that you're not seeing before the line is there. I had to take the guard off, no guard it for a second to get the exact length that I needed to get the dark spot out. Now I just got my 1 guard on, fine tuning the areas. I always consider I'm going to be laying the hair down, so that's going to possibly change the blend as well. But for now, we're coming in with the blending shears, and I had to get a little closer, so I'm using the side with the teeth closer together. And then in the long areas, I use the wide tooth side. I'm tilting the client forward to make sure that there's no shadows created from his occipital bone, and making sure that there's no lines of demarcation. Couple guard changes. Just get it where it needs to be before I lay it down. Looking at your work through a camera makes a lot of the flaws more apparent for you to see. So I got the basic blend on there, and I remove all the loose hairs with the air tool. I realize I need to cut the top down, so I throw the 2-guard on lever all the way closed. And in the crown area, I have the lever open. You have to compensate because in the crown, the hair grows more outwards, and you can see more scalp if it's cut as short as the rest of the head. So here I am, just following the direction of the natural pattern. We're trying to give those waves some clarity. We're trying to get them curls to wave up. Again, removing all loose hairs. Brushing them down with a hard brush, trying to begin to train the hair to lay down. It's ideal if your client can come in after they shampoo and styled their hair. If not, it's just a little bit longer of a lay down process for them. And followed by a soft brush. Now I'm running over the top and hitting any strays. Again, that's taking away the clarity and the definition of our waves. It's just a bunch of stragglers blocking the view. And you'll see them start to pop the more and more you go over it. And laying down the heel of the blade first, then tilting it forward so that I'm not notching it and just coming right in and cutting it short. You may want to use your pinky to kind of glide on the scalp just before the clipper hits the scalp. Your pinky hits it, so it gives you a gauge. These are just ways to ensure that you're being careful and you're not going to make a mistake. So now I have some wrapping foam lotion. I'm wiping it all over evenly throughout the hair in the direction that the hair is growing. Then I'm going to use my soft brush. And the paint is missing on the back of the brush handle because I disinfect my brushes in between clients and dry them out thoroughly. Don't want to pass any germs from one person to the next. So now I'm using my right hand to follow the soft brush and helping to pack down the hair and lay it down. Stretch out those curls and the waves. So there's enough moisture in this product to break the temporary bonds in the hair and allow it to smush down, so to speak. And then once you dry it, those temporary bonds, they stay in that position with the hair laid down. Again, that's why I suggest you do a shampoo and style before you come in. That way you got the bonds broken, it's laid down in position, and then I could work from that. Make way better waves for you. All right, putting a do-rag on them, trying to make sure that there's less wrinkles as possible. Lay on the waves as smooth as it can. And you see I hold the front and I pull the remaining fabric in the back down so it's a tight fit around the crown. Blow drying it with the high fan, high heat setting. And after doing that for a couple minutes, I feel like it's getting hot in my area, so I switch over to doing his facial hair. So I already wiped him with 91% alcohol on the neck strip to exfoliate and dry out the area, get any oils or products out. I'm just using my bulk remover sensitive area liners to establish a nice line on them. I always start with the lip line on my mustaches, and then I hit the top line on the mustache. Find whatever works for you, whatever order allows you for the best work. That's why it's important you take pictures of your work so you could document, hey, when I use this technique last week, all my goatees or all my beards look good or bad. And you go off of that. But I can't stress it enough to take pictures. You don't have to post them. Just to review your work. And it's nice to see your progress over the years. Right, and I'm just checking out the corner of the mouth, and I'm making sure that this bar is just as far from that corner as the other side is going to be. It's all about symmetry, as you know. Making sure that the goatee's coming down at the same angle on both sides. And establishing that corner on his left-hand side. So I seen it looked like the area I wanted to be a sharp angle. It looked like it was curved, so I combed the hair outwards and hit the overhang, and that usually corrects the problem for me. Tilting the client up to get the underside, you don't want to forget that. You don't want them to have this nice full haircut, and then they got a neck beard going home with it. I'm using my sensitive area liners for this area. I'm not going to be using my sharpest liners on delicate areas or areas that can get ingrown hairs or whatever. And removing all that hair off, making sure he's comfortable. And there's always peach fuzz on the side of the neck and up by the cheekbone. But you have to be careful. Don't do this on everyone. If you're not experienced, you could irritate someone's skin, hurt them, cut their eyelash off, all types of stuff. But that's one of my pet peeves, is that fur that's by people's eyes. All right, so I go back for another round of the blow dryer before I remove it and see where I'm at. Now, it ain't perfect, but it's laid down way better than when he came in. So now to get rid of that wet look, I run over it with a soft bristle brush again. Getting the crown as well. And now I'm running over and hitting the strays again. These are the hairs that just refuse to lay down, even when using product. Now, if you really want to elevate your service, you'll do a shampoo and style at your station for their haircut, and you could get it all the way laid down at the shop. But you have to consider how much time you're taking and how much money you're making, and make sure you're not taking a loss. Right, now that I got all the extra hairs that are poking out of my waves gone, I take a neck strip again with 91% alcohol. 70% alcohol is not strong enough. 99 is too strong for the skin. After the alcohol dried out, I take unscented holding spray and use my small brush to brush the hairs in the direction that it grows, which is towards the lineup. Making sure I get it evenly all across the whole line. And now while that's drying out, taking my razor comb, and I'm removing some of the bulk or the puffiness around the lineup without removing the darkness. It's important to do when you're doing these long wavelength cuts, or else it look like he's got like a helmet on or something. All right, before doing the line, I seen some flaws. Again, when you lay down the hair, it creates dark marks. The hairs bunch up, and they end up creating dark marks that may not have been there. Little clipper over comb action. Just pick up the hair where it's dark at and hit the ends. Some people like to have the lever open. I would suggest if you're a beginner, you do lever open. I do lever closed because life's a risk, right? Now, I'm just more comfortable with the lever closed. I want to know exactly where I'm cutting. And if you're not comfortable like that, you could even put a guard on to give you a little bit extra leeway. So now putting a nice crispy line up on them. Now that the holding spray is dried. It's important to get a distinguishable line that you can see from a couple feet away all around the perimeter. Some people's hair won't allow that at all, and you just have to work with it. But most people's hair, you just have to go into the hairline the tiniest bit. We're not pushing it back. We're just evening all the ends. So you're not going into the entire hairline. You're just evening all the ends, like I said. Because the less you go into the line up the natural line, the longer the haircut lasts. The less regrowth, the less chance of razor burn, irritation, or ingrown hairs. And the cut just looks better. Right, sensitive area liners to hit the bottom of the nape. I like to keep 2 or 3 sets of liners. Right, so I'm looking at where can I get the strong line at on the side that's the furthest back. Typically in men, I got a theory that because we sleep on our right side, a lot of times it makes the right side of our beard, our hairline, weaker. So in this client's case, like a lot of my clients, his right side was furthest back. So we're going to establish that, and then we're going to match the same angle that it intersects the eyeball. Do it the same way on the other side. Now that those, we'll say table legs are in place, we'll put the tabletop on. We start in the middle. Now I work my way to his highest side. Again, it's his right side is the highest. In order to make a straight line, we would automatically have to push the right side up to match, the left side up to match the right side. So it's best to start with the side that's higher. That way now you have a template for the other side. You have a reference point. It's important. These are little cheat codes using reference points. Like I said, the way that the angle of the temple line intersects the eye or the eyebrow, that's a way of measuring. So now that C-cup and temple line at point, it was the highest on his right side again. So now I take my comb after I established a strong line on his right side, and I run it across his forehead, and I match it up on his left side. And now we're even. After putting shave solution on, I'm running through with a crisp razor line. Steam toweling it off for the client's comfort. And also going around the ear and all his tapered areas to soothe the skin that may be irritated, but also to remove that holding spray. I know it'll give you a better chalk line at the end, but I think nobody wants that on their face. All right, witch hazel alcohol mix, 50-50 mix. I'm drying them out with a powdered washcloth. Brushing the hair down. Looking for strays and helping to dry it out a little bit more. Prepping for the pomade. The last lay down. I use a paper towel to get stuff out of containers like that. If you're dipping your finger at the end of every haircut in these containers, everyone is now sharing their scalp. After wiping it around in my hands and then evenly spreading it over the hair, I use my soft bristle brush. I continue to lay down these waves, and you can see them becoming more defined. Now I take my do-rag again, and I'm pressing down, and I'm really trying to get these bands to have as least amount of wrinkles possible and laying as flat as possible on these waves underneath. Making sure that it's tight on there and there's no play. I don't squeeze his head off, but just make sure it's snug. Blow drying it with some heat. I'm taking my brush and making sure there's no strays coming over the line. It's important to have a light touch when you're going over your lineup this many times, but you have to realize this is how you make a haircut last. If a client goes home, brushes his hair for whatever reason, or that evening, and all of these strays come over the line, then he's going to feel like you tried to play him or you did something wrong, when really you just didn't lay down the hairs properly before lining. And just like on the nape, I'm going over the front again and making sure that it's all the way right before I put some enhancement on the lineup and enhance a already crispy line. On a lineup, it's all about the curves and the corners, the sharp angles. That's what makes it pop. So now I've put enhancement on them. I didn't show the application. I also put a barber pencil on there, and I'm finishing it up now, framing the work with an ash line. So you don't see the barber pencil. That's the thing. You're supposed to put enough on and smear it off so that it is so subtle you don't even see it. Same with enhancements. You don't want to make a haircut with enhancements. You want to enhance a fire haircut. And that's what we did here. I see a line in my blend. Again, checking your haircuts through a camera just makes flaws pop out easier. All about the finish work. All right, just getting that shadow that's above the taper out of there. Hitting them strays. You know, a lot of times people will do a 1.5 blade for their wavelengths, but you'll have clients like this that want a little bit longer and they want more scalp coverage. So the tapers and the blends are harder, and so are the lineups. But I hope some of these tricks I showed you helps out for you, makes it a little bit easier for you. And got them together. And that is how we do a taper in Cleveland, Ohio. Subscribe for more.